How's it going, everybody? So, a Warriors Den has been held yesterday, and they teased the contents of it on Twitter on Wednesday already. So, we knew it would be about the next generation of consoles and For Honor's future on them. There was a lot of speculation, including from me. There was a lot of hype going into the stream, but then, well, you know me, a cynical pessimist, as many like to call me. I think I'm actually quite a pragmatic person, so I don't tend to have huge expectations, which end up in a letdown. But I'm not going to lie here, I did expect a bit more, especially when they brought out the big guns. Project Lead Programming is the title. I thought the man would now flex on us with what's about to happen. But never mind that, let's just list what For Honor will get on the next gen consoles, and then I'm going to give my further input and opinion on it. General graphical improvements, water reflections, details in the distance, blah blah. I'll link to the blog post if you want the exact details here, basically making everything look prettier, aka changes nobody needs. And then 4K resolution for the Xbox Series X and PS5, and 1080p for the Xbox Series S. Also, making the game look nicer. While a cool thing, this does nothing gameplay wise. Whether this is the equivalent of just putting the graphic details from high to ultra on PC, or if they actually improved stuff, I don't know, I don't really care all that much. The more important part here is what they said next. 60 FPS shortly after the release of the next gen consoles. In the blog post they actually specified this a little more. It says at the start of year 4, season 4 in early December. Considering that the new consoles release in mid-November, this means you will get the higher frame rate 3 to 4 weeks later. When they initially said it, I thought this would be a much longer time frame, but that's barely a month, so not all that bad. Twitch chat reacted rather positively here, and honestly, I don't know why, I expected much more. I really thought they'd give us 120 FPS. Let me explain why. We've known the hardware specs for the new consoles for quite a while now. Roughly a 3800 plus CPU and a 2070 for the Xbox and a 2060 Super for the PS5. That's just a rough estimate and a comparison to a PC at the moment. I am sitting on a 3700X and a 2070 Super. My PC is stronger, especially with all the other components and whatnot, but the consoles are not that far off. If I set my graphics to high and let my FPS run wild, I can run this game at around 270 FPS on 1080p. And that's not with minimum graphics, this is with stuff set to what decently looking, I guess. But that's not all. During UB Forward, they did announce that Rainbow Six Siege would get 120 FPS. While Siege is running on a slightly newer version of the Anvil engine, it still can't be the reason why one game can run at almost twice the frame rate. I understand that no studio wants to announce a high frame rate and then have dips below it, but the new consoles should be able to handle it. I'm honestly really surprised here. So the next thing you're telling me is that console will still have locked FOV? But I digress. You console folks could have had so much more. Like I said, I'm honestly really surprised here. I know I'm repeating myself. 60 FPS is barely par for the course. The graphical improvements are completely whatever in my eyes. I don't know how many of you care how good your game looks. Sure, it's nice, but at this point in the game's life cycle, I think that most players look for performance. That's what's important. Progression-wise, you keep everything, and apparently it's a seamless transition. This should also mean that old and new consoles, still separated by Xbox and PlayStation obviously, can play with each other. Well, not officially announced, but implied, I guess. So here's your 30 FPS versus 60 FPS then. I don't think any information and testing has been done when it comes to input delay on the next gen platforms. Input delay in general is a little bit of a bastardized term that we're using, but that's a topic for another day. Next gen consoles should have a significant advantage over the old platform. But this brings us to the big elephant in the room. They said absolutely nothing about cross-platform in general. The old announcement from Ubisoft CEO has been quite a while back. And to this date, no old, already established game from Ubisoft had crossplay introduced to it. Not For Honor, nor Siege or anything else. And neither have there been any announcements in that regard. Looking at it realistically, For Honor will probably be the guinea pig for it. I doubt that they used their flagship game to test it. So expectations were that they'd announce it for Honor way before they do for Siege. And once it works properly on our end, then they'd go ahead and implement it for the other one. Nope, nothing so far. I still firmly believe that it's coming. Crossplay for all platforms, that is. I guess it's just a little later than I expected. Maybe it's going to be their big Year 5 announcement. Who knows? All in all, the next gen announcement wasn't what I was hoping for. Seeing the console players happy in Twitch chat made it a little less of a letdown, but you guys could get so much more. But in the end, I don't know the exact limitations. They're not doing this to spite us. There must be reasons for it. Maybe it's just their first step on the new platform. We'll have to wait and see. For more technical details, I will link a video from Deads, who knows way more about this and probably can give you a lot more context and info. At the point of me recording this here, his video hasn't finished either, but I'm more than looking forward to it to learn stuff myself. But moving on, the second big announcement of that stream was about the Dominion series, a PC-only Dominion tournament separated in EU and NA for a total prize pool of $35,000. Not that bad, I'd say. The exact rules and how to qualify are in a blog post, so instead of me explaining again what Clarissa already did, I will link to the post in the video description instead. There are only a few small differences in terms of rule set and map pool and whatnot. Everyone who watched or participated in a For Honor tourney before should be somewhat familiar with them. So if you're 18 or older and want to compete for actual money, now's your chance. So, how to find a team? I will put a link to the For Honor Trials Discord in the description. Not only can you find most currently active competitive players there is also a channel for forming teams. Now let me give you an advice here. If you just post in there that you're looking for one and then wait, chances are nothing will happen. First of all, if you post, include details. Your region, your platform, who do you play, what's your experience. And then, the most important thing, be proactive. Contact people. Do not wait for others to contact you. Gamers are lazy, so you don't have the luxury to be in this case. This is the first big tournament that we have since the Season 3 Hero Series. Quite a few people showed up when they held the Into the Fray tourneys a few months ago, so this time with a lot more money on the line, here's your chance to prove yourself. The whole thing starts on October 24th. Other than that, I don't know whether there's enough interest for me to cover this tournament. I don't know in what format I'd do it, so I'm really not sure. You guys can let me know if you want an overview or anything else. The tournament spans over a few weeks, so there'd be a lot to talk about. But yeah, that was it. Those were the two big announcements. All relevant links will be down below, so read up for yourself in case I forgot anything important. I hope the video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.